Welcome, dear viewers, to CouchWarrior TV on YouTube. I am the CouchWarrior, and you are watching ERINYES ARCANA, a Skyrim Let's Play. So what is ERINYES ARCANA? ERINYES is actually another name for the Furies of Greek mythology, who are the embodiment of vengeance. So this is kind of my take on a revenge story. I'm calling it ERINYES ARCANA because it is going to focus on what I'm calling an arcane archer. Basically, what I'm going to be doing is working through the archer-assassin build that we've come to know and love, but I'm going to be taking a new twist and focusing primarily on bound weapons and illusion. So it's going to be interesting. There are some things that we'll have to sacrifice to get there, but I think it's going to be a great build and a ton of fun, and I thank you for taking the journey with me. So, who is our hero? Or anti-hero, as the case may be. He is a Breton, and his name is Fleet Featherstone. I chose Breton because of the resistance to magic and the bonuses I get on conjuration early on in the game. That's going to be helpful. I could have gone with the High Elf. The extra magicka would have been super helpful, but I decided in the long run I wanted the magic resistance. So, here we are. So the Arcane Archer, in my view, is an archer in the standard sense, but we are going to focus on bound weapons, so spell-based bow, so bound bow, probably bound dagger, and maybe bound sword. Certainly bound sword early on because that's available to us. And early on, for survivability's sake, we're going to need it. But where we diverge is here in illusion. Starting with Novice Illusion and going up to Animage, we make our way up to eventually Quiet Casting. Quiet Casting will be essential so that we can actually get the bow out in stealth situations. And then here, under Conjuration, we will be starting with Novice Conjuration and going up here to Mystic Binding. That is going to give us additional damage on the bow. To start with, as far as attributes go, I'm really focusing on magicka, and I'm focusing on stamina. As you well know, stamina is actually critical to an archer, so there's so much that we do as archers that's based on stamina. So stamina is going to be very important. Magicka is going to be important as well. We'll need a good reserve of magicka to even use the bound bow. Early on in the game, we're not likely to have a ton of gear that's going to help us reduce the cost of casting the spells we need to cast. So, you know, the larger reserve of magicka we can get, the better. So let's talk about this build a little bit. You probably noticed that I'm not starting out in Helgen. I did this by design. I'm really sort of tired of having to start a Let's Play every single time in Helgen. So what I've actually done is I've gone through the whole Helgen piece and leveled my character up to level 10. I did this by actually following a beautifully made template by a YouTuber named MrGazGoyle, who you'll find linked in the show notes. If you watch his videos, probably 1 through 3 or 1 through 4 on his Assassin Archer build, he gives a really great primer on how to sort of prep your character early on, what training to do, where to go, what skills to work on, to sort of get you leveled and prepped with the basic perks and skills you need to really get started down that sort of thievery or assassin quest line. So what I have done to this point is I've made it to level 10. I've actually trained my archery up to 50 using Feindal as a trainer and follower, and I have not really left the an area in close proximity to Riverwood. So I have not really started any quest lines. I do have some quest lines in my journal, but I haven't actually carried them out. So my goal was to get to level 10 and then start our Let's Play with all the quest lines open so that we could go any direction we wanted to. Obviously, our key abilities are going to be archery, one-handed, and stealth, but we are also going to be focusing heavily on conjuration and illusion. So let's get started. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is SEL-h, and I have the honor of being Jarl of the proud and ancient city of CRU-h. The fame of your exploits across Skyrim has brought you to my attention. If you're interested in becoming Thane of CRU-h Hold, I invite you to speak to me the next time you are in CRU-h. Aside from the honor that accrues to the title, my Thanes are entitled to a personal housecarl. I also can tell you privately that a choice parcel of land in CRU-h would be available for your purchase. I look forward to meeting you in person. I remain Jarl SEL-h of CRU-h. So I've accumulated a few things here. I think to start with, we're going to make our way to CRU-h and see what we can find out from this Jarl. My reasons for making this decision will become clear if you follow along in any of the other story items. I'll be posting several artifacts on the website having to do with the story where I'll explain some of this in detail, but I'm sure it's going to come up in conversation throughout this Let's Play. So the one thing that we didn't get to talk about before I read that letter was crafting. So, obviously, the typical archer-assassin build that I've put together and is evidenced by some of the stuff you've seen me do in Dark Messenger and the Death Mentor series is really focused on those core abilities of archery and one-handed and stealth. What we're asking to do here is to add on to that additional perks in the areas of conjuration and illusion. Well, everything comes with a cost, right? So what is it that we're going to be giving up in order to make this happen? Well, to start with, I'm going to be giving up smithing. Not entirely. I'm going to be leveling smithing, obviously, but I am going to be giving up perks in smithing, at least early on. The perks that I would have spent maybe on steel smithing and arcane blacksmithing, and then either going to, say, elven or dwarven, for example, those are perks that I will hang on to and I will probably use elsewhere. Those are perks that could be applied to either conjuration or illusion. In addition, and surprisingly, probably to some of you, I'm going to be withholding some of the perks that I might spend early on in the stealth tree. One of the things that I have been having some conversations with people about is this whole idea of not actually leveling up the base stealth perks, that, you know, those initial perks that give you bonuses, and actually just focusing on going up the right side of the constellation and getting the backstab and, you know, the assassin's blade and the extra bow damage for surprise, those things. So I'm going to take the perks that I normally would have spent at low levels on sort of that base stealth ability, and I'm going to apply those to illusion. So really, the majority of my crafting is going to be focused on enchanting and alchemy, but if you think about it, it actually makes sense. The stealth character is really about always being in stealth mode, having the upper hand, so I'm not going to be wearing heavy armor. In fact, I probably won't ever be wearing anything more substantial than either leather armor or even just robes or clothing. So that being the case, I don't need to invest a ton of perk points in smithing. Really, the only smithing perk right now that I can see myself pursuing in the short term is arcane blacksmithing, if I happen to find a piece of gear that I want to smith up. But typically, using arcane smithing, you know, is something that you think of as is applied to weapons. And because most of our weapons are going to be bound, at least early on in the game, that sort of relieves me from having to worry about that. I will be leveling up smithing, but I just won't be taking perks. The nice thing about smithing, of course, is that you can level it up fairly quickly and fairly easily and use it as sort of an engine to drive the purchase of perks in other areas. So we'll definitely be doing that. So, like I said, I'm at level 10. I've been able to buy 10 perks thus far. I have spent my perks on a couple levels in Overdraw, a couple levels in One-Handed Armsman. I'm working my way towards Mystic Binding, so I've purchased 2 perks in the Conjuration tree. Mystic Binding is going to give us the extra weapon damage that we need, but I can also see us buying some perks later on in Conjuration for things like Atronach and so forth. It's really the perfect supporting ability, right? The supporting spell. So we can use Atronach for protection and distraction and so forth. Here's actually some bandits. I actually raided this little bandit camp early on to acquire levels. One of the things that you'll find in this bandit camp also, if you watch MrGazGoyle's video, is you'll see there's also a book. I think it gives you a level in One-Handed in this camp. So that's a nice quick level there. And then Illusion, of course. We need to focus on Illusion. Our stealth character is really nothing without the ability to use that bound bow spell while in stealth mode. So for now, until we get sort of the basic tools that we need to do extra damage and to do the quiet casting, I'll continue to use a traditional bow. My hope is that very soon we'll be able to embark on a mission to acquire that spell. I know where to get it. It's going to be an interesting mission to get it, however, because it's the one that I know of is in Fort Amal, which is filled with necromancers and so forth. So, you know, at a level of, say, 10 to 15, going in solo could be something of a challenge, but with the right planning, I think we could pull it off. So obviously I haven't invested any points in health. Survivability is going to be low if we are in a combat situation. One of the best tips I've ever seen here at low level, I'm obviously using a shield, which is not very sneaky assassin-like, but in terms of survivability, it's fantastic. And by doing this constant shield bashing, I'm able to acquire levels in blocking that, you know, helps me with my overall leveling. This vegetable soup thing here, this is also another tip I got from MrGazGoyle. You'll see that in his video if you watch it on how to get started. But vegetable soup actually gives you a bump in your stamina regeneration, and it's just enough of a bump that you can actually take that shield and you can spam blocks as long as you need to in combat. It's just a terrific tool for staying alive at low levels, so I've been using that. My plan is that once I get to a point where we're able to ditch that shield, I'm certainly going to do that. I don't need the extra weight. But for now, it's keeping me alive, so we're going to stick with it. Besides the shield, among the other tools that we have to help us with our survivability here at low level is going to be probably picking our battles very carefully and lots of running if necessary. There's no shame in regrouping, so we may have to do that from time to time. Anyway, let's talk a little bit about the format of this Let's Play. Obviously, this is a prologue. The point of the prologue is to get through this initial material so we don't have to talk about this going forward. This is an Xbox 360 Let's Play exclusively. I play on the Xbox 360 for now. And it includes all the DLCs plus the Hearthfire content. One of my plans here is that I am not going to pursue the Dragonborn content until I hit at least level 30. There's just far too much dying that goes on there if you're not prepared. And my view is that I'm not going to be fully prepared until I hit at least level 30. Okay, we got a necromancer down here. Generally, I wouldn't tangle with these guys at low level, but he's also got a book, a skill book, which I want. So I'm going to try to at least draw him away long enough that I can get in there and read the book and get out. So again, on format, all of my videos are being recorded at 1080p HD They look great on a smartphone. They look great on a big screen. They look great on your computer. So I encourage you to try some of the different mediums, whatever works for you. All of my videos will contain full commentary. My commentary is not live commentary. I record my videos first, and then I record the commentary afterwards. That gives me time to think about what I'm doing and think about what I want to say and communicate. Generally, my Let's Plays are fairly casual format. And in this particular case, what I'm trying to do is mix the best of what I learned from my Book of Sable Let's Play and my Dark Messenger playthroughs. So you're going to get full story, but it's also going to be episodic with short episodes, somewhere between 20 and 30 minutes. 20 and 30 minutes is my target. That's kind of the sweet spot for me on these things. And I will be releasing at least one video a week on Thursdays. If I can release more, I will. The story is going to be divided into chapters, and each chapter into parts, and it is going to be story-driven, something like a serial adventure. So all of my in-game decisions are going to be based on either continuing the story or furthering the story that I've created around this character. It's going to be based on psychological profile, and for those of you who have not had the honor of listening to my lectures on psych profile, you can find a full explanation of what psych profile is and how it works on the website at CouchWarrior.tv. It's also going to be based on personal preference. There's a particular way that I like to play. So there may be some quest lines that I may pursue that seem out of character or may deviate slightly from the story, but if I have a particular preference, I'm going to do that. I'm not going to box myself in. And then the other last item that'll be used for in-game decisions is audience feedback. I love to hear from you, and there are numerous ways that you can communicate with me. YouTube channel comments and private messaging is always available. You can also email me at thecouchwarrior.tv@gmail.com. You can direct message me on Twitter. My handle on Twitter is @CouchWarriorTV. If you go to the website at couchwarrior.tv, you will also find there a contact form. You can also submit notes that way. So, regardless of what your suggestions are, please be aware that I am quite often 3 or 4 episodes ahead in my recording of what you're seeing published on YouTube. So I would say if you've got specific ideas, get them in early. Things I'm interested in hearing from you about would be stuff like quests and spells, gear you might recommend, locations you'd like to see this character go, you know, stuff like that. So what about difficulty? Generally, I play on Master. I am going to start this Let's Play on Master. However, whether or not I stay on Master depends entirely on if it's good for the story. If it's hurting the story in some way, if there's far too much dying going on at low levels, I may actually change the difficulty level, but the idea is that eventually this character will be played on Master. There's actually no reason that a high-level archer assassin in particular can't be played on Master. It just takes a certain amount of effort to get to that point. What about death and dying? I would say, as much as I hate dying, it's not the end of the world, right? Where it becomes a problem is if it's hurting the progression of the story. So what I'm going to do is say that if I die, I will attempt that sequence one more time. If I die a second time, I will do all of my dying off camera, and then I will come back to the story with a successful run through whatever that particular scenario is, and then I'll give you my observations and comments. I'll let you know how many times it took me to get through it and what my final strategy was. I have been talking a little bit about supporting information. I'm going to create a spot on my website, which will be sort of our Fleet Featherstone Information Center. I'll probably just put a page up there, and that'll have character backstory. I'm also creating a character stats page on elderstats.com. If you haven't checked this out, it's really cool. It's all kind of manual, But you can put your character stats on there and store them and share them with other people. You have to maintain them yourself every time you go up a level and so forth. But with each episode or each time Fleet levels up, I'll be updating that elderstats.com profile. So if you are interested in trying to do a character build like this yourself, you can always consult that character profile and Elder Stats anytime you want to and kind of check out where I've invested my perks and all of my points, things like that. The psychological profile will also be on the website. There'll be an explanation for how it works, how I use it, and what Fleet's current profile is. And all of this stuff will be linked from the show notes, so you can always find it right in the show notes. One of the things that I think is essential to any sort of role-playing focused Let's Play is character voice. I am not the sort of person who has a talent for voicing a character, and it's not really something that I'm good at or something that I really want to do in my Let's Plays. That is just not a talent of mine, at least I don't think it is. Somebody who's very good at it is Jessa. If you go to her YouTube channel, Jessa Channel, she does a fantastic job of actually speaking for her character in voice, which is really cool. What I'm doing to communicate Fleet's voice and allow him to participate in the story is I'm actually going to be telling his story through a series of journal entries and letters that he's writing. These will be written and they will be published on the website. They will be linked in the show notes. So you'll always have the transcripts available. I'll also be recording them in podcast format and putting them up on the website. So if you ever want to just get caught up, you can grab them all and just listen to them at your convenience. And the journal entries will sort of coincide with major events. The letters, the interesting thing about the letters is I have some ideas about who he's writing these letters to that will become apparent as the story unfolds. But each time that we see a courier in-game who brings us a letter or a note from somebody, I will also be posting a letter from Fleet to somebody outside of Skyrim. Presumably the idea is that he receives a letter from the courier and gives a letter back to the courier to deliver to someone else. And what you'll be able to do then is read those letters and get some insights into his background and what he's all about. So what's the story so far, in a nutshell? Not everybody is interested in reading a bunch of backstory and listening to all this supporting stuff. They just want to watch a good Let's Play. So that's cool. I like that. I can totally understand that. So here, in brief, is the background story. Fleet is the only son of a privileged Breton family in High Rock. He is highly intelligent. He is willful. He is extremely arrogant. And he is the only son of a court battle mage who is basically a diplomat. His father is extremely immersed in his work, is often absent. So what does an arrogant, willful, only child with way too much money to spend do? He comes in with a bunch of bad friends, mischief becomes crime, and eventually crime becomes enterprise. He commits crimes for the thrill, not for the money, and he and his friends kind of form a group of hoods that they call the Shadows. They engage in theft, extortion, they make and distribute skooma. They're involved in all kinds of really bad things, and it's he and his best friend Linway who actually build this business together. Eventually, things go bad when robbing a temple of Diabella in High Rock. Linway takes the loot and leaves Fleet to the guards. And Fleet spends 2 years in an imperial prison where he finally escapes. And if you want to learn more about what happens after that, you're just going to have to read the journal entries or listen to them. So here we finally made it to Falkreath. I'm working on the stealth a little bit here. I'm just going to follow this guard around a little bit, see if I can get another level in stealth. The objective here is that you need to be moving. Just sitting there motionless in stealth mode does not help your levels. So, you know, I can find someone like this guard. I can stay on his 6 just enough, far enough back so that I'm in stealth mode. And if I continue to follow him, I'm just, you know, accumulating levels in stealth. Which is what we really need. I highly recommend that as you travel across Skyrim with this kind of build, if you're working on, you know, creating any kind of sneaky assassin type, whether it's archery based or not, when you're just walking across Skyrim, go in stealth mode. You know, go in stealth mode. You can still move reasonably fast and stay off the main roads. If you stay off the main roads and kind of move along in the forests, along the edges of the roads, you will often find that in stealth mode you're passing, you know, you're passing creatures, you're passing, you know, farmers, civilians, you know, whoever, and each time you do that, you know, you're getting a little bump in the stealth. So here we are in the Jarl's Longhouse. It is very late at night. And what does a career criminal do in someone else's house late at night? Let's think about this. I was actually really fortunate to get that helm of conjuration early on. Conjuration is obviously something we're focused on. I hate the way the thing looks, but if I have to pull it out and use it once in a while, I will. Eventually, I'll disenchant it and make my own gear that I do like. But for now, I need to hang on to it. That's a really good find early on, given our character type. Let's see what we can pilfer. That guy looks like he could mess us up if he woke up, so let's not do that. Notice none of that stuff was in red, including the money. At this level, I will take anything I can get. So, you know, whatever's easy to carry and has some decent value. So I'll take clothing, I'll take shoes and boots and, you know, whatever. I can sell that. I can sell that stuff. As long as it's not listed as stealing it when I take it, I should be able to sell it to anyone. So, look at this too with the potions. Some of them are okay for me to take and others aren't. Block, that's good. Excellent. Well, I really dumped a lot of stuff on you, but this is the prologue after all. And it's kind of all that stuff we need to clear up early on so you understand what you're getting into. See, none of this stuff is stealing. I'm taking these. Worth a reasonable amount of money. It always creeps me out a little bit, though, when you come into the bedroom where there's a dude like this living and he seems to be alone, but his dresser is filled with children's clothes and stuff. It's a little creepy. All right. What do you say we rip off our new employer? It's going to be none the wiser, right? One thing I don't want to do in this Let's Play is really be bound too much by the story. You know, as soon as you go into Dragonreach, you get sucked into the whole Dragonborn story. I don't necessarily want to do that right away. I want to take a different approach. And I really want to drive this thing, you know, from the story perspective. My thinking now is that, okay, you've escaped from prison. You've made your way here to Skyrim with the idea that you are going to find Linway and you are going to kill him in a very ghastly and painful way, but you have no resources. So the first thing we need to do is, you know, finding an employer is great. Finding a source of income is great. So we are going to explore Falkreath. We're going to find out what our relationship could be with this Jarl and what that might mean for us financially. Hopefully it'll mean some level of financial security and give us a base of operation here. So hopefully I don't ruin that relationship. Hopefully I don't ruin that relationship right away by getting caught stealing from this guy. But he's got some things that are worth a little bit of money here, so... Oh, I'm so close. Come on. Tell you, man. Low levels can really be difficult. Well, I don't know what this stuff is, but it's worth a little something. So we will grab what we can. The other thing I'm always looking for is the ingredients to make more of that vegetable soup. That is brilliant. More of that I can make, the better. See, now why is the clothing stealing but the hat's not? I'm just going to take them. Garlic is good. So early on, I got a lot of my levels by really just running around getting bandits, gathering every ounce of alchemy ingredients I could find, leveling in alchemy, training in archery. Training in archery was a big one. And then what I would do is run back and forth all the time to the Guardian Stones. So if I was going to do alchemy, I'd go to the Guardian Stones first, and I'd select the Thief Stone. If I was going to do smithing, I'd go to the Guardian Stones and select Warrior first, and then I'd come back. So it was a lot of running around back and forth, gathering things. But early on, you gain levels very, very quickly, and smithing and alchemy are, you know, those areas where you can really benefit. So don't feel like just because you've picked one Guardian Stone, you got to stick with it. Eventually, I think fairly early on in the game, Fleet will be getting away from the Guardian Stones altogether, or the standard 3, and probably going to the Lover's Stone and just taking a 15% across the board on everything. That might be the most efficient way to do this. Yeah. I'm not sure I want to pick anybody's pocket here. That is going to hose up any possibility I have here. So we're not going to resort to picking pockets. We're going to take the easy stuff, the low-hanging fruit. Well, dear viewers, we have reached the end of this episode. I thank you for taking the journey with me, and until next time, may all that you do be swift, quiet, and deadly. And to all Skyrim assassins, I salute you. Silence is our battle cry. You've been watching ERINYES Arcana, a Skyrim Let's Play. If you liked this video, please rate, like, and subscribe. For more information on this and other CouchWarrior broadcasts, visit me on the web at www.couchwarrior.tv.